Welcome back to the Lakers Takes podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and today we're going to recap this past week's games. We're going to talk about how the Lakers' October went and start previewing the games coming up in early November. Let's get into it. Alright, so the Lakers started the week off facing off against the San Antonio Spurs, and they were able to win 125-121 in overtime. And this was the first game LeBron missed this week and this season due to the ankle soreness he suffered in the Memphis Grizzlies game. So it was kind of questionable if he was going to play. Ultimately, he did not play, and obviously I think that's the right choice. You want to rest that ankle, especially this early in the season. There's no reason to risk anything if, there's any doubt at all. And with the team having back-to-backs on Tuesday and Wednesday, it made perfect sense to me for him to miss the game. Because LeBron was missing, the starting five of the Lakers was a little bit different. You had Anthony Davis, Bazemore, DJ, Westbrook, and Malik Monk. So Malik Monk made his first start as a Laker, which I think was really special. We've seen him play so well as a Laker, so it was really nice to see him kind of get the love, get the appreciation, and get the start. And ultimately, the Lakers were able to pull off the victory. It wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't a beautiful game. But the Lakers really made a run late in that third and into that fourth to kind of put themselves ahead and force overtime and ultimately win the game. I really liked the run they went on in the fourth quarter. They went on a 17-4 run late in that fourth quarter to ultimately take the 102-101 lead and then force overtime. So it was really looking dicey until that point, but as we know, the Lakers are still trying to figure things out, get things together, and it was a combination. It was definitely a team effort. Russ balled out, AD balled out. Russell Westbrook, he had 15 points in the fourth quarter alone. So this was a game where Russ shows you, hey, I can be that guy. I'm still that guy. It's been rough so far. The Russell Westbrook experience has definitely been up and down, but again, we're looking towards the long term. We're looking towards developing the chemistry and getting him to his best ability on this roster, and I think we're going to get there. And the game against the Spurs, I think, was more of a positive than a negative. He had 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, so it was a really good Russell Westbrook game. It was also a pretty good Anthony Davis game. AD had a good game as well. He was producing, he was productive. He had 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 assists on his own right. And I really like what Malik Monk said about how much the crowd was with the Lakers in San Antonio, which, obviously San Antonio is one of those, great NBA franchises, and they really rep the Spurs hard, but it wasn't go Spurs go. It was Lakers Nation in there. And the quote from Malik Monk here, I'm going to quote him directly after the game. His quote was, quote, "It was like a home game. I've never seen nothing like it before. It's crazy feeling. It made us more comfortable and let everybody relax like we were at home." And again, Malik Monk's a professional. He's been around for a while, and he saw the passion Lakers Nation has. They can take over a stadium on the road, and that was awesome to see. You could hear it on the telecast. You saw the empty seats. You started hearing them rally for the Lakers in the fourth and in overtime, and it was great on Twitter seeing all the reactions and all the fans. They really stepped up. They balled out. They showed up, and that's part of the Laker experience. Is they travel really well. Lakers Nation travels really well, and they definitely traveled to San Antonio and repped them hard. And ultimately, the Lakers were able to get the win. It wasn't the most pretty game, but especially early on in the season, you take your wins where you can get them and you figure out the rest later. Speaking of figuring out the rest later, we have the Lakers Oklahoma City Thunder game. The very next day, we have Lakers OKC, and this game was awful. This game was terrible. Did not go the Lakers' way at all. The Lakers lost 123-115, and that was after having a 26-point lead, which was absolutely terrible. It's the first time they've lost when having a lead that big in like 203 attempts or something like that. It was some kind of crazy stat. I don't remember the exact stat, but the point is it was a loss of epic proportions given how much they led by. And, luckily for me, actually, I missed the game. My goal is to really never miss a Lakers game. Unfortunately, right now, I am doing this kind of part-time. I'm not a full-time Lakers beat writer, so I have to kind of create my schedule in a scenario where I can watch the games, cover the games, study the film, write the articles, all those kinds of things. And, I won't get into all the details of my compensation, but I am compensated for a lot of my sports coverage, my basketball coverage, and my writing, but not all of it, and not on the Lakers beat. That's still something that I'm building myself. So for those reasons, I can sometimes miss a game. I had family, obligations that just didn't allow for me to be available for the game. So I actually missed this game, which really bummed me out. I don't like to miss the games. I have League Pass and everything, so I can always rewatch and catch up, and I have Spectrum and everything, and I can watch the replays. The Spectrum usually has a replay, directly after the post game, and then they have they kind of stagger them after that. There's usually like one a couple hours after that, and then one in the morning. That's typically the way Spectrum Sports Net works. So they'll replay the same game a couple times, and I was kind of just keeping up on my phone. My experience was every 30 minutes or so, I checked the score. I saw they were up like 41-29 or something like that in the first. I was pretty excited. Halftime still looked pretty good. Third quarter started getting dicey, and next thing you know, they're trailing in the fourth. I'm like, what is happening? And I was just kind of refreshing Twitter when I had the opportunity to, and I saw the epic collapse, how embarrassed people were, how angry people were. It was a big deal. So I think I picked the right game to miss, because I actually still haven't watched this. The only Lakers game I haven't watched this year, because afterwards there was so much anger on Twitter from Lakers Nation, that I asked a simple question like, should I even watch? Because all of you are very upset about this game. Is it worth it? And I got so many responses from people saying, no, don't do it, not worth it, trash, you won't learn anything, there's no use in looking at this game. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it was such an overwhelmingly negative response that I decided, okay, you know what, normally I would watch anyway, but all of you are unanimously upset and would prefer I don't watch the game. So I'm just gonna go off the score and say it was obviously an embarrassment, obviously disappointing, but I did expect them to lose this game. It was off a back-to-back. What I thought would happen was they were going to take their foot off the pedal and just lose the game due to a team being younger and hungry and not being on the back-to-back the Lakers were on. Ultimately, that's not what happened. The Lakers just took their foot off the pedal after first applying the pressure and having the dominant performance. And obviously with no LeBron, that's a little bit easier to kind of lose control. And, that's what happened. So it was definitely an embarrassing game, definitely a bad moment. And, people like to dunk on this team. So you give them an opportunity, they're going to take it. And the Lakers absolutely gave them an opportunity to question everything, question all of it, and make a mountain out of a molehill, because they definitely embarrassed themselves against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But at the end of the day, it's one game, it's a bad game, it's a non-LeBron bad game. So the players shouldn't be throwing it away and ignoring it as if it wasn't their fault. But from a fan perspective or a long-term perspective, you flush this one down and you try to correct things after that. And the Lakers did just that when they played the Cavs on Friday. The Lakers played the Cavs on Friday, and now LeBron's back. He missed the back-to-backs. He was still kind of questionable leading up to the game, but ultimately he played, and the Lakers ran the classic lineup they love to run when this iteration of the team is healthy. You had Bron, AD, Bazemore, DJ, and Russell Westbrook. So that's been the starting five the Lakers have gone through every single game except the two games where LeBron was out, because they couldn't run that starting five, obviously, without LeBron. But when LeBron's there and everyone who's been healthy this year has been there, this is the starting five they go with. This is the lineup that Vogel trusts. And, we can talk about how good that lineup is, and I'm going to definitely break that down in the future. But that is the lineup they typically go with. And in this game, the Lakers were able to win, and really, they were able to win because Melo just went off. Melo had himself a game, 24 points, 6 for 8 from 3. He was phenomenal. And, the Lakers didn't have a good game. They did not play particularly well. I think that's a fair assessment of their performance. It was kind of poor, and then going into the fourth quarter, they just really put the clamps on the Cavs, and they really, kind of put the kind of pressure that they just couldn't compete with. The Cavs only scored 16 points in the fourth, and the Lakers scored 25, and that's really the difference in the ball game. But the Lakers did what good teams do, and the Cavs did what bad teams do. The Lakers found a way. Okay, it's an up and down game. We're up 2, we're down 4, we're down 8. What's gonna happen? They said, okay, let's apply pressure. Let's play top level defense, and let's get after it. And when they did that, the Cleveland Cavaliers are still, a team that's very much a lottery team. Maybe this year they're going to be better. We don't know. It's too early, but they've been a lottery team for a couple years, and they did what lottery teams do, which is you have kind of a good lead against a good team, and then when they decide that they're going to kind of get it together, they do, and you don't have a response to that. And that's what happened to the Cavs. They couldn't respond to the intensity the Lakers got to in the fourth quarter, and a lot of that was because of Carmelo Anthony, who was amazing. 6 for 8 from 3. Again, how ridiculous is that? How good do you have to be to do that? 9 for 12 from the field. He was just an absolute bucket. He has been absolutely incredible. There's no mistake about it. And he's one of the reasons, he got you another win. And he's already done this a couple times. So you got to give Melo his flowers. He's been amazing. He's been a spark plug of energy. As soon as he gets introduced, the entire Staples Center just gets loud. They get so excited. He hits a 3. It's like a LeBron James dunk. The fans just get up for it. They're so excited. They're 100% there for Melo. They've wanted Melo for so many years, and now that they got him, they didn't get him the way they wanted, but they love that they have him, and he's balling out. He's having a good time, and he's playing well. I still have concerns with his defense, but overall they found ways to kind of hide him in defense enough. And if he's hitting shots like this, you're going to find a way to make it work, because he definitely makes it worth it. And 100% one of the main reasons the Lakers won was Carmelo Anthony's tremendous performance. And LeBron had himself a great game. 26 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds. Overall, I think he looked pretty good. I didn't really see any problems with his ankle. I didn't see him hesitating. I didn't see him struggling to make sharp cuts. I didn't see any problem with his lift. He's, still the incredible player that he is, and he looked just fine. If there's something wrong with his ankle, he's doing a great job of, controlling it and not letting it affect his performance or even how his performance looks. All right, and the final game, which just happened on Sunday, was Lakers-Rockets, and this was a great game for the Lakers. The Lakers were able to finally dominate. They put together a dominant performance from top to bottom. They only won 95-85, which is a 10-point victory, but they were up by so much more. They were up at one point by 28 points. And the Rockets only held a 1-point lead extremely early in the first quarter, and the Lakers really took care of business. Probably the only negative for this game from me was that the Lakers should have kind of applied a little bit more pressure in that fourth quarter, because I would have liked them to have extended the lead enough where they could take out all their starters early, and that fourth quarter could have kind of been all garbage time instead of kind of garbage time, but your starters are still in the game. LeBron was in the game until 2 minutes were left in the game. AD was subbed out after a timeout with about a minute and a half left, and I would have just liked if 6-7 minutes left in the fourth, we see all our starters go out, we clear the bench, and they could rest, because they totally could have. This was a game the Lakers were up by 28. Even at the fourth quarter, they were up by nearly 20 points. They could have absolutely just applied a little bit more pressure, get to 25, 26 points or something, go on an 8-9-0 run, and then say, okay, that's it, we're good. Let's take our starters out. Let's let them rest, because the last thing you want is for the Lakers to have another injury in a game that's already decided, that's already over. But the Rockets did just enough. They went on just enough runs in the fourth to kind of let the Lakers keep their starters in for a few extra minutes. So again, minor annoyance, definitely a petty complaint from me. But again, a complaint nonetheless. I would like to see them put those teams away a little bit earlier, just so you can get a little bit more rest and avoid injury. But other than that, it was an incredible game, incredibly balanced game from the Lakers. You had AD with 16 points, 13 rebounds. You had LeBron with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Brody had 20 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. He was a plus 25 on the night in the plus minus category. He was fantastic. And another great Melo game. 5 from 8 from 3. I did not know Melo was this automatic from 3. It's been scary. He's been absolutely amazing. Again, 23 points. He led all scorers off the bench. 23 points in 25 minutes. Scoring isn't everything, but for Melo, it is kind of the main thing. It's what he's there to do. Hit shots, hit your open jumpers, and don't be too bad on defense. And again, that's another night where this night wasn't like the previous game where he kind of was the main factor, but he definitely was a shining star in this game. Again, it was a very balanced attack. The Lakers are just in another class than the Rockets, which we all know, but still, they have to demonstrate it. There have been other games against San Antonio and against the Thunder where I still think they're ahead of them by a large margin, but it didn't show up on the court. Today it showed up on the court, and the Lakers balled out. They won 95-85. They won comfortably. It was a good win, and now they are 4-3 on the season. Okay, so let's talk about it. They're 4-3. How was October to you? To me, it was good. I wouldn't say it was great. I wouldn't say it was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was excellent. I would say it was good. And the reason I say it was good was because it was what I expected. I expected them to struggle with those first two games that were really cruel for the NBA to schedule. You had the Warriors and the Suns. We know the Warriors are one of the top teams. They're 5-1. They've been as good as advertised this year. And then the Suns, again, that's a rival. That's a team that beat them. That's a team with chemistry. That's the Western Conference champs, the NBA finalists, the Phoenix Suns. And to have to play them here in this scenario right away early in the season was pretty rough. And it went as you thought. They lost those two games. The game against the Thunder was the only one I think they should have won that they lost. But I also predicted they'd lose. If you go back to my YouTube channel, if you're not watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Not only do I have all the podcasts up there with my face on video form, I also have a few specialty videos. I do 2 videos a month, kind of bigger picture content and coverage on the Lakers. And this previous month I did the Lakers record, and I kind of just ran through what I thought the Lakers record would be game by game and what it would be ultimately. And I predicted 4-3 for the Lakers in October, and I predicted every win, every loss correctly, including the Thunder game. Like I said, I thought they'd lose it in a different way, but ultimately I did think they would lose. So I've been perfect so far in my predictions, so I can't really be too disappointed. It's literally what I thought would happen. And again, I think, NBA Twitter has been so excited. They're making mountains out of molehills for every single game. And I think we need to pump the brakes. Perspective is needed. We know this team's good. We know this team is talented. If LeBron James is healthy, every team he's on is a playoff team and a championship contender to some degree. It just depends how close to championship contending are they. We need to relax. Lakers Nation, exhale. It's going to be a long season. You got to take your time. Overall, you've seen the good, you've seen some of the bad, and they're working it out. So many pieces, we've talked about it over and over. So many pieces are new. There's a lot to figure out, and we all don't know the answers. You might not like Frank Vogel's starting 5 like I don't like it, right? You might not like the too big lineup. You might not like why this player plays in front of this player. Why is this player coming in? Why isn't this player closing? 1, we don't know if our predictions are the correct ones to get results. 2, we don't know what Vogel's mindset is on everything. He's been asked on some of these things before, but we don't have all the full answers. And they've lost the games you'd think they would lose. I thought they'd lose those first 2. The Thunder game's the only disappointing one. And again, that was without LeBron James. And they had that game in the bag. They just kind of fumbled it. So overall, I'd say despite everything, they're kind of where I thought they would be. And I think there's things to be optimistic about and things to be concerned about, and it's early. We're going to find out if we should be more optimistic or more pessimistic as November goes along, which is the first full month of NBA basketball, regular season basketball. So we're going to know a lot more about this team once November is done, because we'll really see a full slew of games. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. And overall, that's my message to Lakers Nation. Relax, breathe. And the goal is win the games against the teams you're supposed to beat and try to figure out this lineup, try to figure out this chemistry as you go along, right? There's still key players missing. I think THT's a starter on this team. He's not played a minute in the regular season. I think Kendrick Nunn's going to be a significant backup. He's not been able to play due to injury. Trevor Ariza, I have my theories on how much he should play, but I think a lot of people think Trevor's going to play a lot, and he's injured until probably around December. So we're going to have to kind of live without those 3 pieces for a little bit longer, and we'll see. Hopefully it won't be too much longer, but there's 3 different injuries and 3 different timetables. We'll have to see kind of when we actually see them. So we might not even see them in November, I don't think. So we'll have to just be kind of patient here, and the Lakers will have to figure it out in the meantime. And they have enough pieces for that for sure. We've seen the best of them and the kind of the worst of them here in October. Let's see what November holds. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited for what November has in store for the Lakers and Lakers Nation. All right, so the upcoming games, the first games of November are as follows. The Lakers play the Rockets again on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. West Coast, Best Coast time. And again, that's going to be in Staples Center, so they're going to stay at home. They're going to stay in Staples. They're going to run it back and hopefully get the same result, a dominant victory against the Rockets. Then on Thursday, a game that would normally be kind of a boring game is definitely going to be interesting. Lakers versus OKC at Staples after that embarrassing loss. I fully expect the Lakers to make a statement that they were embarrassed and that that's not going to happen again. They should destroy this Oklahoma City Thunder team. You know, we saw Russ mad at a late dunk late in that game, talking about that's not how you play. We know the team's frustrated and embarrassed. We know the fan base wants blood. I expect this to be a game the Lakers, establish early. They are the better team, and nothing's going to happen this time. So either way, it's going to be interesting to watch on Thursday when the Lakers play OKC. That'll also be at 7:30 p.m. at Staples Center. And the final game of the week to finish off the first week of November will be Lakers versus Blazers. This will be on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and this will be at Portland. So that'll be the only road game of the week. Really interesting. They'll be playing on Saturday. There aren't that many Saturday games this year. A lot more Sunday games. So it's a bit of a rare thing, but they'll be up in Portland at 7:30 playing the Trailblazers. This game I do think the Lakers will lose. I know Portland's kind of been up and down and Dame hasn't had a good time, but Portland's a good team. We know Dame loves playing against the Lakers, so honestly, I'm expecting a Lakers loss, but we'll see. As usual, I'm going to be hoping for a Lakers win, but my prediction is they're going to go 2-1 in these 3 games, beating the Rockets, beating the Thunder, and losing to the Blazers. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how November develops and how November starts for the Lakers. All right, that's it for this episode of the Lakers Takes podcast. Thank you so much for listening through. Make sure you're subscribed on whatever streaming platform you're using or on YouTube if you like to watch on YouTube, but I really appreciate it. You can leave a comment telling me what you think about October and what you think about the games starting in November, and I'll talk to you next week when we'll recap the games happening. Also, we're going to have a bigger conversation on the 5-man lineups, which ones we think work, which ones we think we want to see more, and which ones don't work, and kind of unpack all that. That's going to be the big topic this week, which I'll also be covering on Lakers-Takes.com. So be on the lookout for that on the website, and I'll talk to you again next week, hopefully after 3 Lakers victories to start the month of November.